Insight 172. Exercise, this is very long explanatory insight. Exercise consists of 3 stages. All 3 are important. Warm-up, stretching, and strengthening. In that order are proper. Exercise should start in the morning with these three with emphasis on warm-up, such as running and dancing. At midday, one should continue with all 3 with emphasis on stretching. However, after the noon, warm-up and however, after the noon warm-up and before stretching, one ought to rotate the joints gently. So, however, after the noon warm-up and before stretching, one ought to rotate the joints gently. So basically at noontime, when you do your warm-up, you're going to then rotate your joints before you do the stretch. Gently. You don't want to over-rotate. You slowly rotate and you make the rotate more and more. Slow. Gently. Being extra careful of one's neck. For example, the neck, you don't want to start stretching like this. No. You start out with slow, after your warm-up, slow circles. You can feel your neck. You see how if there's any kinks. If there's any kinks, you want to keep rotating there until the kink goes. You may need to massage it with your hands. You have to consider the temperature of the body, temperature outside, you know. Okay? Good. Now, for example, I didn't go the full rotation because, which would be like this, you know, because I'm not warmed up yet. Excuse me. At night, all 3 stages should be done with emphasis on strengthening. If one feels that one has stretched enough at noon, no further stretching is required. If one has a habit of sleeping late, one should sleep 1 hour earlier each night until one reaches the desired sleep hour. So this is talking about you want to wake up early in the morning to do your exercises. But if you've developed a habit of sleeping late, you cannot get up early and do a proper exercise. So basically, if you sleep, let's say 1 o'clock in the morning, well, you're going to sleep 12 o'clock. You can do that. And then the next night you sleep 11 o'clock. The next night you sleep 10 o'clock. The next night you sleep 9 o'clock, as an example. So then if you sleep 9 o'clock, you will wake up 5 o'clock quite easily. If one has a habit of sleeping late, did read that, sorry. If one thinks of staying up late, if one thinks of staying up late because he wants to be active and do activities, he can think to himself that the sooner he sleeps, the sooner he can awake to be active and become involved in activities. So that's a way to trick your mind. For example, in the middle of the night, you're thinking, I should go to sleep now, 12 o'clock or 11 or 10 o'clock, I should go to sleep, but I want to be awake, I want to do things, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be active. Well, trick your mind by saying, the sooner I go to sleep, the sooner I wake up and become active. Right? The sooner I go to sleep, the sooner I will wake up and be active. The night before the first morning of exercise. The night before the first morning of exercise. So where you're planning to have exercise, to do some exercise in the morning. Well, the night before, right? One should eat enough and sleep enough to have energy to exercise in the morning. No bread at night ensures ease of going to the bathroom in the morning. So yeah, if you take bread at night, it's going to take a long while to go to the bathroom. Meaning you get up in the morning and you want to go, let's say 5 o'clock, and you want to go to the bathroom, if you've eaten bread, it takes much longer and to go to the bathroom. And so you want to avoid that by not eating bread at night. Upon awakening, one should go to the bathroom to expel waste before exercise. The exercise should be done carefully with moderation in order to not injure oneself. Have no food for 2 hours before exercise, unless your stomach is growling. Then have a bit. Before the exercise, there should be a brief period of exercising control over one's own mind to silence its meanderings, and if one believes in God, to strengthen one's relationship and awareness of God. I'm saying it's helpful to do this. Why? Because you get an understanding of, you get in your mind a perspective of the universe and where you're at and what you're engaged in, and what needs to be done and what you're going to do now. And of course, if you believe in God, then it's good to say, develop your relationship with Him. Say hello, interact. However that you feel comfortable with that, of course, interacting that way. After exercise, there should be a time of non-action for the body to become accustomed to being in this healthy state. Yeah, so you're let's say you've sweated, feel really good. Now you're gonna go take a shower and eat and rest? No. Let the juices of your sweat remain in your body. Let you just relax. Stay there for 30 minutes wherever you are. Just let your body be. Don't put anything into it. If you want to put water, that's fine. But just be. And let your body remain in that healthy state for it to do what it needs to do. You don't want to have additional things added to it for it to become busy with that stuff, digesting and whatever else. No, just let it be and let it settle in that healthy state. Your body needs rest. That's a good way for it to rest. It needs to do certain things while it's very healthy. Finally, it is time for eating proper food in its proper proportions, and immediately resting for 30 minutes, composed of 4 7-minute periods of lying on the floor for each side of the body, in order for the food to digest and your body can recuperate from the hard exercises. So you eat food, and then you need to have the food digest. Now have in mind your body is tired of the exercise, you see. And the body gets rest when it's rested against something. Like I'm resting against the bench, So that part of my body which is resting against the bench is getting relaxation. Not my neck. My neck is being held up. So I'm doing exercise for my neck by just holding it up. Muscles are active. So same with your body. You're resting, you're sitting down, or you're lying down. You're lying down on your back. Good. 7 minutes. Let your back muscles, anything on your back rest. Then you turn on your side. Let them rest for 7 minutes. Turn on your stomach. Everything in front of you will rest. And turn on the other side. On the other side, rest. For 30 minutes, right? All together, it's going to be 30 minutes. All the 4 sides. In order for the food to digest and your body can recuperate from the hard exercises. After the morning warm-up exercises, bread can be eaten coupled with other energizing foods. Then one can go to perform the various chores of the day in a physically non-strenuous manner and with a peaceful mind. After 4 hours, according to each person, the hours might be different. One goes to the bathroom and does the same procedure. Meaning going to the bathroom and then doing the exercises, which is focusing on God, focusing on life, doing the exercises and going through the whole thing. Except this time it is midday exercises, which is, the stretching, rotation and stretching. The best lunchtime food after stretching is fruit and fruit juice because it doesn't clog up anything, You're very stretched and you don't want to clog it up immediately, but rather have fruit and fruit juice, and then you feel, oh, really good, um, Snack can be had after 1 or 2 hours after lunch. 4 hours after eating the fruit, one goes to the bathroom and does the same procedure for exercise, except the emphasis is on strength. After exercise, one can eat strong food to replenish and rebuild the body during the night. There will be no rest period of 30 minutes for the nighttime because you'll be sleeping. The 8 hours of sleep will be the rest period. In the performance of all of the above mentioned, be aware of your body in order not to strain it. Change the exercises, eating and sleeping in such a way that it will cause no discomfort or injury to you. So then I have a little chart. And you can see if you can see it here. Okay. Okay. Insight 173. Of the healthy benefits of herbs is the olive leaf. Olive leaf is known as having the ability to fight against infections. I know of its potency because I used it for my gum infection. Gain knowledge of this herb and others from those who are knowledgeable. So yeah, so olive leaf is fantastic. I had an abscess, tooth abscess in my head. I've grown here, and it started spreading to my head. My head was getting hot. Apparently, the infection was spreading, and then I was recommended olive leaf. I took it immediately. My head became cool, and within 1 week, this tooth abscess went down to nothing, to null. Never had to go to the doctor. All right. So kills any infection around the body, and it just fights against infection, allowing your own system to recuperate. All right. Insight 174. Regarding food, find the freshest possible. Be aware of who you buy from. Gain knowledge of the workers involved in making your food. Do they get paid a living wage as opposed to a minimum wage? If they get paid the minimum wage, tip them. If the company they work for does not allow tipping, hand them the tip saying you dropped your money. Even if it is a minimal amount, these minimal amounts add up to an appropriate amount for their laborious work and hours. Whom you buy your food from affects your food. This is true not only because of energy and spirituality, but also because those who care about your well-being will care how they manufacture their food and care how they deliver it to you. Those who care little about you often care less about how the food is manufactured and care less about the quality of food they are providing you. So this is just some basic stuff about, be aware of what you're eating. You want to see the ingredients. Also, you want to see if it's good, fresh, good food. Like just recently I had some strawberries and they were really good. And then the supermarket started bringing these larger strawberries, which are tasteless. I feel like writing him a letter saying, I don't like to buy your strawberries because now they're tasteless. I want some real strawberries, please. All right. A little bit more on the 174. Yeah, so tipping is important. People, as you know, they get paid the minimum wage, which is not a living wage. They cannot live on this wage. So offer tips. And if the company doesn't accept tips, then just get your money out and give it to them saying, hey, you dropped your money. I've done this before. It's a good idea. They get some money. And, because if people do this on a massive scale, they get really good pay, which they require. They work a lot. The service industry, people who work retail and otherwise, they work a lot, Insight 175. Brushing your teeth gently with the most natural toothpastes. Wash your mouth and tongue. Cleanse and dry inside your ear and your nostrils gently with every shower. Cleaning under your toenails and your fingers are necessary. Fingernails. Be careful of where you are. Do not inhale dust from the ground and pollution from the air or water. Eating something very hot can break your teeth. Eating something hot and eating or drinking anything cold after can break the strongest teeth easily. Starving yourself weakens the strength of your teeth almost immediately. If you have been starving for food, eat gently and with care in order for your teeth to not get damaged. So yeah, if you've been starving yourself through a fast or some other thing, your teeth also get nutrition, but during this fast, your teeth have been weakened. So you want to eat gently so as not to break your teeth. You're able to do that, damage them quite easily when you've been starving or have been fasting. So just eat gently for the nutrition to get there, for them to go back to normal. Insight 176. You can dodge many accidents by thinking beforehand of the possibilities of something going wrong based on the vulnerable situations that are identifiable in the present, such as a knife at the edge of the table, a needle on the floor, being in the presence of someone who is joking with a knife, being in the presence of someone who is not cautious in handling heavy tools that could harm, such as hammer, nail, etc., and those who drive recklessly, not keeping much distance between them and the car in front. Keep away from cars that carry ladders and other material. Keep away from people who gossip and have low morals. Minimize your time spent with them, or teach them by the example of your behavior how to be without offending them. Keep away from those who see themselves as separate from others. These people see themselves as separate families from you. You may also minimize your time spent with them, or teach them by the example of your behavior on how to be without offending them. Associate with those persons who see themselves as unified with others. These people truly know that all beings are part of one family. Yeah, so if you know of people who see themselves as separate from you, see themselves as, separate, they think everybody's for themselves, well, you want to minimize interaction with them. You want to be aware not to go out of your way for this person or many other persons like that, because it's, you're going to be giving of yourself when they're not going to be returning anything to you, meaning you'll just be giving, and nobody's watching out for you. Nobody has your back. The reason a lot of people do give and share is because they see each other as one family. I've given a lot of things and spent a lot of time with a lot of people because I saw myself as one family with them. But I saw that after a while, I saw that they're not thinking of me as family. They're not, and so therefore, I was actually wasting my time, because when I needed help, they just were not there. They didn't care. And also they could be actually harmful to you, because when it comes down to it, they will be looking out for themselves, not for you. You want to watch out for knives and situations that can be harmful and can be avoided by simple logic. So if something is dangerous, step away from it. If there's step away from dangerous people, dangerous places. Same with walking on the streets and somebody shouting. Okay, don't need to go towards the shout. Keeping away. If you drive on cars with ladders or cars that are carrying anything on the back, can so easily drop, fall down and hit you. And I know this. When I used to drive, If there was a car in front of me with a ladder, I would take the first left immediately, as soon as possible. ASAP, dangerous situation. I would think this immediately, and as soon as I could, I would quickly go, to the left or the right, get out of this way, in a safe way, but as soon as possible. Like once I did this, I remember a car goes right in front of me, and I was like, oh man, God, this guy has carrying some stuff, like trash cans, he's carrying trash cans, garbage cans, big garbage cans. Anyway, so I immediately turned left. As I had turned left, one of the garbage cans had already dropped, and I would have hit me. But I had already turned left, and the garbage can, when I looked right, was falling onto the right, to the right side of me, where on the lane that I was. So I've seen so many accidents with ladders, people with ladders, trucks, and carrying ladders. The ladders falls off because of the wind. So, and a lot of things can be avoided. My mom, when I was a kid, I remember going to some place. I was sitting in the car, and my mom went and did something. She came back to the car, and we were almost going, when she said, yeah, there was this, I had to do something. This guy said hello, this and that. He had only one eye, she said. I go, oh, okay. Why did he have one eye? What happened to his other eye, And she said, yeah, when he was a kid, his shoelace on his shoe got tied on a knot. He couldn't untie it. So he got a knife, and he started trying to cut it. Eventually, it went through and actually went into his eye. Now, that accident could have easily been avoided. It was foreseeable that, hey, this could hit me, So I learned from that to be cautious about things, accidents that are foreseeable, meaning you can see that something could go wrong, and just avoid it. This is also about people, the type of people. For example, people who gossip, things can go only wrong from there, right? Okay, we're on Insight 177. One who with intelligence takes time and effort to grow a tree's roots deep into the ground is assured that in the strongest of storms the tree will not be uprooted, but will remain firm in the ground. Likewise, one who with intelligence takes time and effort to grow one's consciousness deep into fundamental knowledge is assured that one's consciousness will not be taken by the strongest storms of the senses. One's consciousness will not be lost, but will remain firm in deep knowledge. So you have some information, you learned some information. If you learn it deeply, truthfully, to such a degree that it is real to you, you've seen it very, very clearly, you've taken the time to think about it quite deeply, you've taken the effort to think about it quite deeply, so it's real to you, the knowledge that you have chosen to study. When the storm of the senses come, when you're confronted with some negative aspect of being reported to you through your senses, you're experiencing it through your senses, you will not forget your knowledge. Insight 178. Simply stated, just look at the whole of existence, and from this establish your perspective. One's concept of women, men, gender, attraction, emotional love, mental connections, admiration, sex for procreation, love, and the whole of life, all are to be properly defined as they relate to each other and the whole of existence. This perception and deep contemplation ought to be imbued with rich knowledge from this text in order for the student to be dynamically aware of the forces and influences at play trying to subdue him and his mind from a life of happiness and self-direction. This is the last insight of this chapter. So you want to look at the whole perspective and the whole of existence and establish your perspective, concepts, understand the concepts of men, women, objects, animals, plants, everything that is there, and also the interrelation of men and women, the interaction, what kind of relationship or what kind of relation is there? By relationship, I mean, for example, you have bread and butter. You eat the relation of the bread and butter to you. It's food, you know. So every object and also situation have relationships, relation to each other. They're relative to each other, you know. And so define that, define them. Persons could have multiple and constantly changing definitions. Define those, become familiar with them, so that they're in your mind, very vivid and clear. And you're doing this so that and you're learning about attraction, gender. You're seeing the interplay of these things. For example, you see there's a show about how a few people are put into some kind of house or a place, and they're pretty much every activity that they do and interaction that they have with each other is recorded. And so it itself, the interaction between the people, is a show. And so I like to watch those because it's a great learning experience to see how people interact with each other. And that's the major reason why I like the show, to see how people interact with each other. How is the makeup of each person? What do they show? And how it's just a marvelous thing. And so, marvelous tool to learn and see how people interact with each other. And so you're trying to get a very good inside picture of each interaction and of all of existence, so that for the student to be dynamically aware, very, very aware of the forces and influences at play trying to subdue him and his mind from a life of happiness and self-direction. You want to be aware of how people trick each other. What are the motivations for doing things? And you want to see and understand the human mind, how and why they do things that they do. You want to become aware of the forces at play. I'm going to read on the explanation. Just as one is aware of the nature of water and sand, and knows the nature of mud when water and sand are combined, similarly, one ought to look at the nature of women, men, gender, attraction, emotional love, mental connections, admiration, sex for procreation, love, and the whole of life, including job, career, family life, ambitions, play, etc. The student should come to understand the nature of each. Then he ought to see how each relates to the other, and when they interact, what happens. In this manner, one comes to understand the small interactions of life and their relation to larger and larger situations, and their relation to the largest picture of life, such as the planets and existence. By this method, one becomes aware of the forces that lead one to happiness and a life of freedom, and the forces which subdue happiness into sadness and lead to a slavish life. In short, this is the process of correcting our perspective. It is learning various perspectives from the tiniest microscopic subatomic structures all the way to the macroscopic universal reality. These viewpoints are necessary for an individual to make correct, informed decisions. Okay, we're on chapter 8, entitled Other Vital and Relevant Information. This is Insight 179. Time and effort are very important. Immediately take shelter from the storms of life by the use of your time and effort in establishing yourself in the knowledge which looks at a subject as well as its relation to the universe of existence. Other forms of knowledge are limited and are similar to a man who, with his limited sight, saw only the river and desired to cross it. He then was attacked by the wolves once he crossed. Therefore, look at the whole of existence itself, the interim situations, as well as look at the limited immediate situation at hand. So you want to be looking at the small, relevant picture here, right now. What's after that? What's larger than that? And what's larger than that? To the infinity, as much as you can get, because you want to understand what is the situation, so that you could make an informed decision on what is to be done, what is to be thought of, all these things. So the example I gave about the wolves is that, say there's a man and he's on a little island, and he says, I gotta cross this, or let's say he's on this side or on an island, and he wants to cross over the river or water edge to the other side, and all he sees, his vision is crossing this river, crossing this island, crossing this river, body of water to the other side. If his vision is only that much, right? Once he crosses onto the other side, well, if there are wolves on the other side and he has not seen them, so he goes on the other side, he's killed by the wolves. Now, if his vision was larger, then he would be able to say, oh, you know what, I need to maybe change my mind about going there, maybe I should go another place, or have some defensive weapons against the wolves, Something. He can't just go and get killed because you're limited, your vision is limited, only see this far. No, you want to see this far and further, so that and see how, if there is this and this, how they interact with each other, and so that you become aware of how to proceed. For example, if you have water and it's by your computer, you're quite aware that, hey, I should not spill this water. Maybe I should even put it aside, or you're very careful around it, because water and electronics don't mix. In fact, the water will, if it spills, it is liable to ruin your computer, which is worth thousands of dollars or pounds, or whatever. So it's becoming aware of the nature of things and making the right decisions. Insight 180. So, by the way, this chapter 8 is about extra information that will help you solidify your overcoming lust. Insight 180. There are many people who work 2 jobs to be able to afford rental housing for themselves as well as their families. Even their wives must go to the husband's work to spend time to talk to the husband, because when the husband goes home, he has to sleep. In this situation, there is no time available for deep contemplation. Therefore, the person has to be creative with his or her time. For example, 15 minutes he can be in the bathroom contemplating away from the world. The same he can do in the shower, and he can even do it on the job. While in the bathroom, he readjusts his view of the world, getting a more accurate look about his position in life and about his place in the universe. At his job, he can simply slow down to a moderate level, keeping his focus on the higher perspective as he is dealing with the tasks at his job. In this way, one can become free of the prison-like condition which he has bound himself to. He can achieve peace of mind and mental clarity, which is invaluable to him in his ability to analyze his situation and figure out a solution that will set him free from this seemingly inescapable situation. So yeah, so let's say you are working at a job, and or let's say you're two jobs. I knew a person who he had two jobs, very long hours. When he went home, he didn't have time to interact with his wife because he had to sleep. So his wife would go to his place of work just to interact with him, you know. So what is the situation for this man to do? How can he even think, you know, if he's working? So one of the examples I give is anytime that he's alone, for example, he's in the shower, he's in the bathroom, then he can use that time to relax and free his mind and really think about life. Another thing that I mentioned is that while on his job, he doesn't have to be busy doing the job. He could slow it down to a moderate level, you know, which is doing the job, but yet he's calm enough so that he could breathe and relax his mind, free his mind. And in this state of free, that's what it is. In this state of calm, he's slowly freeing his mind from the tasks here that he's doing, and allowing himself to experience peace of mind, enabling him to be able to think clearly about his situation and about how he's going to proceed out of this situation to better his life. So he needs mental clarity, and I'm showing you guys how to have mental clarity while you're busy at a job. You make yourself moderate in your busy activity. You just breathe, calm, do your activity, and enjoy the peace of mind that you're experiencing. Peace of mind. And your mental clarity becomes clearer and clearer depending on how much you do. Day by day, minute by minute. Insight 181. The mental intrigue created by dualism. No longer existing, there is no longer a mental curiosity to be satisfied. I'll read that again. The mental intrigue created by dualism, no longer existing, there is no longer a mental curiosity to be satisfied. There is no sexually passionate motivation other than feeling the pleasure of the genitals and or body itself. This pleasure taste no longer has a strong potency due to its lack of mental intrigue, and can be dealt with as similar to tasting some tasty dish of sweets or chocolate. The degree of the potency of this pleasure is minuscule, meaning tiny. The normal mental state of eating chocolate is having none or a minuscule amount of intrigue. So, here I'm basically saying, when the mental intrigue, I'm talking about the mental intrigue, which is created by the contrasts, right? So the contrasts create the mental intrigue. Oh, what's that? This is very interesting, different than the norm, than what is normal. When this mental intrigue is no longer, when it no longer exists, right? So then, in sexual satisfaction, when there is no mental intrigue, there is no sexually passionate motivation other than feeling the pleasure of the genitals and her body. So, if we're talking about lust and passion and all that stuff, right? We have the mental intrigue, and when that's gone, when that has been conquered, annihilated, then what is attracted the one person to another? It's no longer this lust thing. No, it's just what is left is the physical sensation of pleasure. And what else is there? There is the mental and emotional connection with the individual, right? These are the things that you can plainly see. Ah, yes, very good. So dealing just with the physical sensations itself, it becomes minuscule, meaning the physical pleasure and the mental intrigue. The mental intrigue was providing the power in the sexual interaction. Now the pleasure is there, but no mental intrigue. The power is left. So now we're just left with just the simple physical sensation, which has its high, but it's not to this degree, to the umpteenth degree. It just has a physical high, which is very nice, but that's it. So it can be easily dealt with. It is not so mind-grabbing. It is not so difficult to deal with. It's like having chocolate or not having chocolate. You could have it or not have it. It's like having a dish that you like to eat. You may have it or not have it. It doesn't have that much power. Insight 182. The previous source of passion, meaning contrast, dualism, or mental manipulation, is lessened. The previous source of passion is lessened. However, the ability to express deep love, true intimacy, and self-directed passion is increased. This self-directed passion, in the form of love, is under the direct control of oneself. Love can be directed to manifest in any form, such as painting, calligraphy, kind-heartedness, and compassion, etc. This love is expressed consciously by means of sexual love, by one's own choosing, when the right partner is found. So, when the source of passion, the previous source of passion that was created artificially by manipulation, by contrast, when that is lessened, to the degree that it is lessened, to that same degree, it frees the mind, right? So that mind now can be engaged in expressing and delving into their feelings and emotions and mind about how they feel about their partner. So it increases to express deep love and true intimacy and self-directed passion, right? And it is under the direct control of oneself, as opposed to being led into, coerced into, tricked into, having been forced into. Now it is you are in control, and it is your expression of how you want to express yourself.